In 5, 4, 3, 2.
I wrestle a lot with this sort of emotional whiplash, that I chose this. And yet I'm so mad about the way that I spend my days.
I feel guilty for wanting to be away from them. Like, I have 3 little boys. It is high energy all the time.
He was like, you know, is everything okay? He's like, you used to be so sparkly. I feel like you've lost a bit of your sparkle. And like, how discouraging is that?
I don't think there's anything that I've done in my life that's made me feel as powerful as motherhood made me feel.
There are lots of hards when it comes to motherhood. There's lots of beauty too, of course, but there's lots of hards. And for me, the single hardest thing has been what it's done to my identity and my sense of self. And I've had a few people in my life tell me, you're so negative now. And I didn't realize what a gut punch that would feel like, because it's like, I know how I present on the outside now. And I know I yell all the time. And my kids have told me more than once, you're scaring me, because I yell so much. But I wonder if it's because I am depleted and I am tapped out and I'm exhausted and there is nothing in my day that is for me. So yeah, I'm mad. I'm mad that this is not how I envisioned this playing out, and I am not the person that I thought I am, or at least I'm not presenting that way. Sabrina, can you relate to the idea of losing yourself?
Yeah, I feel like every mother can, right? My own personality, like I'm a high energy person. It takes a lot to sustain me on a regular basis. Give me a tired day, like give me a day with like 3 kids, anything, running around in perpetual motion. I feel like that depletion, it does affect your ability to be yourself. Like, you might be in a social setting. I don't know if anyone else has experienced this, but sometimes it's hard to even have the energy to kind of maintain conversations with people in the way that you normally would.
All the time. I don't even laugh often anymore.
It's hard to kind of generate that joy. It's like you've got all the ingredients and the setting for it, but the cake doesn't rise, right?
Or you're going to a party and you're like, I don't think I spoke to one person. You're like physically there, but you're still momming all these children at the same time, and you're like, you leave the party like, I didn't have one intellectual conversation, or did I even speak to anybody?
100%. Or for me, I sometimes don't feel lived in my skin a little bit. Like I feel like I'm kind of floating almost, like having like an out-of-body experience, because I'm not really settled. And I had a friend say to me, I did a coffee with him, and he was like, you know, is everything okay? He's like, you used to be so sparkly. I feel like you've lost a bit of your sparkle. And it was one of those off days. And like, how discouraging is that? And we're like, to me, I think that is the biggest hit, is that loss of being able to kind of be the person that I know that I am inside outwardly on a consistent basis.
Well, I've also found people say you have to mourn, let the old you go and embrace the new you. And I have like a visceral reaction against that, because and maybe I'm the idiot, like maybe that is actually the answer, but I miss the old me so much. Is old Kristy there somewhere? How do you navigate this?
She's in there somewhere, and she just wants to get out, but it's a sustainability thing. I'm like, I'm a social butterfly. I love doing things, but at the same time, I'm like, where am I finding the time to do the things that I used to enjoy? Even I've never been like a leave for work kind of mom. I work from home. And so no matter where I am, I can't just focus and just be me. There's toys that need to be cleaned up. There's laundry that needs to be done. Like, nowhere do I get to go off to an office and just put on a cute outfit and just be me and just talk about me and just do my actual job, as opposed to dueling even at home.
What about you?
Well, it's just so interesting to hear, because again, my experience is very different. I remember in the first few months after having my daughter, motherhood became like my whole entire personality. And I realized, okay, Steph, you're gonna isolate everybody, because you're the only 25-year-old that, you know, just bought a house and has a mom, and your leaky boob jokes are just not, they're not landing with this audience, okay? So I was like, okay, I need to focus more on being who I was. And I think that one thing that has helped so much in that process is my parenting arrangement. So I have my daughter for 1 week, and then she goes to her dad for a week. And being able to make a very I would call it seamless transition between non-mom Stephanie and mom Stephanie has just allowed me to maintain that connection that I think is so easily lost in the ebbs and flows of daily life when your kids are always around. And I just think that that's a luxury that a lot of women don't have.
In return, do you feel like you're a better mom because of it?
1,000%. Last summer, my daughter's dad said that he was going on vacation and I needed to keep her for 3 weeks. And I was like, 3 weeks? Whoa. We gotta talk about this.
You charge your batteries on your way off.
Right.
Yeah.
But by the end of those 3 weeks, I think I realized I don't know that I'm able to have any more kids because I don't know what my parenting arrangement will be with that kid's dad. And thinking that there were moms that could do this for 2-3 weeks at a time, let alone years and years and years, I am in awe of you all.
So do you think moms would be better off if we all spent a little less time with our kids?
If there is one hill in this life I will die on, it is that parenting is not meant to be a solo activity.
Right.
I would even go as far as to say it's not an activity that's just supposed to be done with a partner, specifically when that partner is male, because there's a lot of situations where women end up also parenting their partner. And it's just having another big, huge, grown, oversized baby in the house.
Right.
Olympians don't make it to the Olympics by training 24/7 because we know that rest is important. But for some reason, whenever we get time away from our kids, that's, not a long period of time, but like maybe we can watch a show. We either do two things. We either spend so much time thinking about what we want to do with that time that we don't do anything at all, or we think, okay, well, let me just tidy the place up so that I can stay ahead. That's not resting. That's not resting. And and this is not to brag, but I just want you to envision this. In the 7 days that I have away from my daughter,
don't do this.
I can plan trips. I can cook better meals. I can book spa days. I can book massages. I can have time to just sit in my living room and rot, should I so desire. And I cannot tell you how terrible of a mother I would be if it were not for those days. So despite the chaos and everything that led to this situation, there is not a day that passes that I do not consider myself eternally grateful for being able to have more time than most women do to just exist outside of my motherhood.
I remember I read an article recently, and it was about Parisian parenthood. And what the columnist said, she was interviewing a French woman, I believe, and the French woman basically said, in France, we consider it taboo for women to only post pictures of their kids and to only exist as a mother. And it's like, if I'm not posting pictures of my kids, then you're not going to see me on Instagram for 5 years because this is all that I do. So I can't even conceptualize what being me outside of a mother would look like.
Which for me is the exact opposite. If you look at my social media, it's like, does she have time? Because she parties and travels a lot. I do think for the people that understand my parenting arrangement, they understand that I have that time away. And I do find myself posting like compensation photos of like, oh, by the way, here's my daughter. Like, we went to a ballet recital today. But a lot of times it is just me, out living my life. And I have one foot in that life and one foot in parenthood. And I think that that's okay. I think it's okay.
I wonder, do you think parenthood has been good for your well-being? Because for me, I can't say that the answer is yes. And I wrestle a lot with this sort of emotional whiplash that I chose this. And I'm so mad about the way that I spend my days. And also, I love these creatures more than I could possibly. I just could squeeze them forever. But that emotional whiplash of I am so mad about the way my days look and about how I have lost my own life. And yet I love them so much. And when that pendulum swing can exist in the same year, in the same day, in the same hour.
The same second.
It's wild to me.
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel similarly? I think I've also heard you say before, though, that it's a bit of a superpower for you, being a mom.
Yeah, so there's two parts to that question, right? There's the guilt part, which I often say, like, it's a race to bedtime. Every day feels like a race to bedtime.
This was the longest
You
2
know,
hours
you're
ever.
enjoying it, but you got your eye on that clock.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, you know, 7-year-old's like, 7:30 is too early. I'm like, no, it's not today. And then bedtime hits, and then all you have is that moment of stillness and think about, oh, I should have done this better. Oh, he just wanted to tell me that story. Oh, they wanted to ask me to play. I should have played. And the other side of that is, yeah, I step out into the world and I'm a mother, and that is the confidence that I have never had before. I don't back down to anyone now. Like, I'll say things at work or stand up for myself or others because I feel like I have this band of cheerleaders behind me. And that when I'm speaking, it's not only with my own voice, it's the voice of all those 3 minions that I've, you know, birthed and my husband.
Well, it kind of feels like you can take on the world because if you can take on a toddler, and
Yeah.
then
Yes.
you can take on, you're like,
come
I
at
can
me.
take on anybody in this moment in time
100%.
because if I got 3 little boys that are not participating in me, then I can take on literally anything.
Yes.
I don't think there's anything that I've done in my life that's made me feel as powerful as motherhood made me feel. I think what it comes down to is that motherhood is one of the, like, single-handedly, one of the most difficult jobs there is, because it is your responsibility, and not just a one-time thing, a temporary thing, but something that you have to show up to day in, day out, no matter your energy level, no matter what's going on. You are responsible for fostering the development of the next generation. And that is something that takes so much love, so much intuition, so much wisdom, so much maturity, and
so much work.
So
Yes.
much work. It's a lot
much
of work. And I know that just doing that at home makes everything going on outside of the home small time.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
That's so true.
Yeah.
Sabrina mentioned guilt earlier.
Yeah.
Do you find you struggle with that?
I struggle with it a lot because I love my children to death. Like you said, I can love them and dislike them in the same sentence. But at the same time, I crave time away from them. And in that return, I feel guilty for wanting to be away from them. Like, I have 3 little boys. It is high energy all the time, from sun up to sundown and sometimes throughout the night. So wanting to escape from them, literally escape from them and take 5 hours to myself
Right.
and do nothing and not parent, then return, I feel super guilty about it. And then wanting to do things for me is unheard of, because then I'm like, well, that's time that I could be doing stuff with them.
Yeah.
But then you see parents and they're like, well, you're going to go here. Are you bringing the kids? No, like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
But then I shouldn't be made to feel guilty because I'm
Yeah.
still their mom and I'm going to come back to them and I'll be better for it. But
I think I thought guilt would look differently, because mom guilt's become a phrase now, right?
Yeah.
Dad guilt hasn't. Mom guilt is. I think I thought it would be like, oh, I feel guilty for going to work.
Right.
For some reason, that in my brain was, I don't feel guilty for going to work at all. I love going to work. Going to work is the best part of my day, that
Right.
commute. For me, the guilt is not liking it as much as I thought
Yep.
I would. And when I tried to articulate it to my partner, because he didn't say it, but I always feel like I chose this and I wanted this and I do, but 2 things can be true,
Yeah.
right? I said, I spend most days feeling like a failure. He's like, what do you mean? You've got kids and you've got a career and you've got friends. And I described it as just like little paper cuts or just little
Just by 1,000
knocks.
cuts.
And I remember one day recently, I was like, why did today feel like a colossal failure? And then I went and tracked back through the day. And it was like, I woke up late because we had gotten in an argument the night before, essentially the who does more, who's
Oh, yeah.
sacrificing more
Classic.
fight.
Yeah.
Woke up late, so couldn't get a workout in, which always makes me feel like me. Kid woke up early. Kid didn't want me to leave for work. All the classic little things. Mom, why are you leaving me? Almost missed the train. Then had to run out, was late for a meeting because I had to go get pasta at a drugstore because I had nothing for dinner. Had to tell my boss I was gonna miss a meeting the next day for a daycare thing. Yeah. All these little things. The train was canceled, so I had to figure out a way to get to the daycare. And then when I get back to the GO station, I see a flyer in my car dash. I'm like, is it a club? Must be like a club advertisement. And I go and take the flyer. And it's like Comic Sans MS, like a little flyer. And it said, 2-year-olds learn how to color in the lines by coloring in picture books. and there's a picture of a turtle. Maybe if you colored in this turtle, you'd know how to park in the lines too. No. And in that moment, and it sounds so stupid, but in that moment, when you feel fail, I think I just sat in my car and cried and laughed at the same time. Yeah. Because it's like, did I not have a single win today? Anywhere in the period of a day, all these little things can add up, and when you don't ever feel like you get a win,
right? Yeah, no.
It's a tricky situation.
See, I think of that, and then another fail would be like, my 2-year-old doesn't color in the lines. That's literally like where I thought that I was like, well, then there's another fail.
Like, have a stack of
my body driving around with a stack of color in the line flyers.
Judgment's on them.
Yeah. But
it's just 1,000 tabs open all the time.
Oh yeah. That's how I always describe it. They're actually wrapping around at this point.
Yeah. Yes. Do you ever feel like you get validation for all the work that you're doing?
It is my ministry to validate myself. And I've had to do a lot of that as a single mom. Yeah. I don't have anybody else in the house to be like, you know what, you did a good job today. You know, you were texting me at work. I don't have that. So I pass by the mirror and I'm like, yes, girl. I know you're wearing that dress. Yeah. And you know, even beyond that, I really have to lean on my intuition. And there are situations and conversations that arise at home. Yep. There's no one for me to turn to say like, hey, we need to tackle this as a team. It's just me. Mm-hmm. And so I've learned to validate myself. And it does mean a lot when I can step outside and say, you know what, but you are doing a good job and you are trying your hardest. The other source of validation is social media, which is so strange because you shouldn't go looking for validation online, but I do. And I've got a lot from it. And to me, it means a lot because these are people who are witnessing my journey or like parts of it. Right. And sometimes they message me privately to say like, hey, I know that I'm just some random follower online, but you seem like you're doing really well with your kid. And I really like the kid that you're raising. Right. And that means a lot to me.
And sometimes that's even more special because there's no agenda. There's no bias.
There's no bias.
It's no friend or family who feels like,
do you think I'm doing a good job?
Right. There's none of that. Yeah, so it does mean a lot. It does mean a lot, yeah.
Do I have the oldest kid in this group? That's 7?
Yes.
Because one thing that I'll say that maybe I hope is coming for all of you is he is starting to become like a full-fledged human, like person, right? Like personality. And one thing that I have found validating is I started to notice this. Like, hey, I actually like hanging out with Braden and chatting with him. And he laughs at my jokes genuinely, right? And as I laugh at his. And I was thinking this, and then independently, my mother kind of one day said, you know, Braden's really maturing, eh? Like I can see it in him. He's really becoming like a good young man. And that was just like, like it was just like a moment of, that's what, at the heart of what we're doing, we're raising good humans, right? So when you start to see that shade peek through where I like to hang out with this guy, and I will when we're drinking together one day. Beautiful wine, of course, in a sophisticated setting and not too much. And that's to me, that was a really big source of validation.
Yeah.
So it's the long game. What you're saying is focus on the long game. Because right now I'm like, tell me I'm doing a great job.
Tell me you're still not at work to the guy with the stack of papers telling you parked terribly.
Mom, I like your hair.
Yeah, exactly. What's something that you guys do that makes you feel like you? Not like mom, but like Kristy.
Based on this table, I get my nails done once a month, and it is my standing. I said the second that I found out I was having 3 boys, I'm getting my nails done. I don't care what the budget says. I don't care what the timing says. I said, I need this feminine energy in my life in order to maintain my sanity. I mean, it doesn't necessarily maintain any sanity, but it's an hour that I look forward to every month. I pop in my headphones, I listen to a podcast, and I just get to do me. I mean, my son will pick out the color every once in a while, but no, that's it.
Good for you.
For me, actually, my girlfriends and I have all turned 40, and I kind of refer to this as our reclamation era, where we are starting to go out again, like go out on the town, like sometimes even get bottle service with the sparklers. But like, and all of our husbands are gassed, right? They're like, what is going on? Like, are we reverting to university days? But we just do it with each other, and we have so much fun. Like, we just take a night out dancing, getting dressed up, and it's bringing us that joy that, you know, we haven't had. We took a hiatus for so long. And to me, that's fun. That and being able to listen to the explicit version of any Taylor Swift song gives me...
I didn't know she had
Fills my cup. Fills my cup.
For me, I'd say anything that has to do with dancing. I do carnivals a lot, and there is something very powerful for me. I remember finding out that I was pregnant, and I was like, oh no, I'll never wear another two-piece costume again. And after I had my kid, I was like, you know what? I am going to stick to the two-piece costumes. Mind you, I do sometimes, like, they have the stomach modifications. That's like the monokini, and that brings this thing right up the middle. But just being able to, like, carnival is liberation, and there's nothing more liberating, oddly enough, than parading down the streets half naked with a bunch of other half naked people. And it's freedom. And my daughter also does the kiddie carnival now, and she looks forward to it every year. It's just a beautiful, beautiful experience that just always allows me to stay rooted in who I was long before I became a mom.
Well, and kind of, in my mind, brings me full circle to the beginning of our chat when you were talking about how when you first had her, there was some physical concerns you had.
Hugely
And now
physical.
look at you.
Yeah, back to being naked on the streets. It's a great time.
It's perfect. For me, it's playing soccer again. I played competitively all growing up. I played in university, and I just gave it up and hadn't played for 10 years. And in a random mom group on Facebook, they said, we need a goalkeeper. I didn't know anyone, and it has been the best. It's so simple, but it's time for me every week. And I forgot how much I love being part of a team, and it just brings me so much joy because it's not for kid one, kid two, it's not for our family, it's for me.